The chapter The Lost Child is written by Mulk Raj Anand. The author Mulk Raj Anand was an Indian writer in English. He was notable for his depiction of the lives of the suppressed and deprived sections in the traditional Indian society. Anand was one of the pioneers of Indo-Anglian fiction. He, together with R.K. Narayan and Raja Rao, was one of the trio of Indian English novelists. Anand's novels and short stories are noted for their perspective insight into the lives of the oppressed classes. He had received Padma Bhushan. Being a renowned author, he is describing how the life of people in the villages are, especially in India, where people are deprived and suppressed. This is a story of a child who goes to a fair with his parents. He is happy and excited and wants the sweets and toys displayed there. But his parents don't buy them for him. Why then does he refuse when someone else offers them to him? Let us read the story further. It was the festival of spring. From the wintry shades of narrow lanes, and alleys emerged a gaily clad humanity. People had gathered to attend the festival of spring. It was kind of a fun fair, and everybody was well dressed and they were looking happy. Some walked, some rode on horses, others sat being carried in bamboo and bullock carts. One little boy ran between his father's legs, brimming over with life and laughter. The tiny little boy who was accompanying his parents to the festival was excited as he could see lot many beautiful things in the stalls, and the nature was also very beautiful. He could not suppress the desire of his heart, even though he well knew the old cold stare of refusal in their eyes. He knew that whatever he would ask for, the parents would deny and refuse to share. But he was so very fond of different things available in the fun fair that he used to run from one place to another looking for the things that he loved to have. He at first saw the stall where the toys were being sold. He said, I want that toy. Actually, he pleaded. He requested and begged for buying the toy. But his father looked at him red eyed in his familiar tyrant way. Okay, he knew that his parents won't agree to buy him the things he asked for. So when he asked for a toy, the father stared at him and he seemed to be a bit angry. His mother, melted by the free spirit of the day and giving him her finger to hold, said, look, child, what is before you? Okay, the mother is trying to distract the child as the child was willing to buy the toy. And she showed the child something that was there in front of him. It was a flowering mustard field, pale like melting gold, as it swept across miles and miles of even land. He could see that there were fields, and there in front of him was a mustard field. Across miles and miles it had spread. A group of dragonflies were bustling about on their gaudy purple wings, intercepting the flight of a lone black bee or butterfly in search of sweetness from the flowers. And he could see that many insects were crawling and dragonflies were bustling around to feed itself with something, and even the honeybees and butterflies were in search of sweetness from the flowers as they were looking for the nectar. The child followed them in the air with his gaze, till one of them would still its wings and rest, and he was so fond of catching the butterflies that he used to run after them, and he waited for them to settle somewhere so that he can lift one of them if they are still. Then his mother gave a cautionary call, come, child, come, come, onto the footpath. But the parents who were vigilant about the child who was roaming around, fetching the things, and enjoying the nature. He was constantly being called by the parents. When the mother gave the cry, the child ran towards the mother. He ran towards his parents gaily and walked abreast of them for a while. But after following the parents, roaming around and enjoying the mustard field and the butterflies in the field, he could run ahead of the parents. And however, soon after being attracted by other insects and worms, he started walking on the footpath. And later on, he could see that the day was very bright and sunny. A shower of young flowers fell upon the child as he entered the room, and forgetting his parents, as he was following his parents and later on he was abreast of his parents, he was happy. Why was he happy? Because he could see that there was nobody around, but there were many petals in his hands because he had been roaming around and picking up the things. But there were so many beautiful flowers that he could not know what he should do. So, whatever was available, he did pick it in his hands and started roaming around. He forgot that he was with his parents. But lo, he heard the cooing of doves and ran towards his parents, shouting, the dove, the raining petals dropped from his forgotten hands. Okay, the petals that were there in his hands dropped as he started running, showing the parents that there was dove in the field. Later on, he realized that he had been to and fro since long, and the parents had moved ahead or left behind. The child had now gone running in wild caper around the fields, roaming around the fields. He could also see there were wild capers, and he ran towards the banyan tree. And gathering him up, they took the narrow, winding footpath which led to the fair through the mustard fields. So, crossing the mustard field, they were about to reach the fun fair. But here the child was so happy and excited that he could not realize where he was, but he used to roam around and pick the things or enjoy the beauty of the nature. I want that Buffy. As they reached the fun fair, the child was excited to see the sweet stall and he asked for Buffy. He was so very fond of Buffy that he could not resist. But he half knew as he begged that his parents won't allow him to have one. He started pleading and begging for it, but he knew that if he would ask for it, the parents would call him greedy. So, without waiting for an answer, he moved on. As he was so very fond of having sweets, when he saw the sweetmeat seller who hawked gulab jamun, rasagulla, burfi, and jalebi at the corner of the entrance, and a crowd pressed around his counter, he noticed people buying the sweets, but he knew that his parents would allow, so there was no point in asking the parents. He would not have been called greedy if he would have not asked for it. Having thought so, he started moving ahead, and later on, he saw lot many stalls that were decorated with silver and gold, and many items were so very pretty that he wanted them all. As he moved ahead, he came across a stall where the garlands were sold. As the garlands were beautiful, he thought to stop for a while near the flower seller who hawked a garland of gulmohar. A garland of gulmohar, this is what the flower seller cried, and the child seemed irresistibly drawn towards the hawker, and he went towards the basket where the flowers lay heaped and half murmured, I want the girl. That's what he murmured to himself. But unfortunately, he could not ask his parents to buy him one. But he well knew his parents would refuse to buy him those flowers because they would say that they were cheap. Okay, at first he thought that he should ask for sweets, but then he thought that his parents would call him greedy. But later on, when he saw the hawker selling the garlands, he thought that if he would have asked for it, the response would be negative and the parents would call him back to join them and he would not get it because the flower garlands were cheap. A man stood holding a pole with yellow, red, green, and purple balloons flying from it. The child was simply carried away by the rainbow glory of their silken colors, and he was filled with an overwhelming desire to possess them all. Now, the child who is very fond of balloons, sweets, flowers, and enjoying the beauty of nature cannot stop himself. He ran towards the things that he desired to possess, but unfortunately, he knew that his parents would not allow him to have one of them. So he stopped asking his parents. Later on, he watched a snake charmer who was playing a flute to a snake, and then he observed how the snake was coiled in a basket, and the sound of the flute drew him towards the snake charmer, and he could see that the snake charmer was enjoying playing the flute, and the snake was moving the neck, and the music stole into its invisible ears like the gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall. The melodious sound of the flute drew him towards the snake charmer. He stood there for a while, and then he thought to himself, he knew that the parents had forbidden him to hear such coarse music as the snake charmer played. So he stopped for a while, staring at the snake charmer, and the snake enjoyed the flute being played. But later on, when he recollected that how his parents would have forbidden him, he proceeded further. There was a roundabout in full swing. Men, women, and other children, those who have been running around near the whirling motion of the roundabout. Roundabout was very beautiful, and as it was rolling in the whirling motion, the children, those who have been around, they were excited to stand there and have a round. But this lost child, who was lost in his thoughts and who was willing to have it all, could not think about anything more. So he stood and stared at the children, those who were enjoying in the roundabout. I want to go on the roundabout, please, father, mother. He thought to ask the parents to make him enjoy in the roundabout. But the child watched them instantly and then he made a bold request. Later on, when he observed many children on the roundabout, at first he thought to himself that he should ask or not, but then later on he requested his parents. There was no reply. He turned to look at his parents. They were not there. Ahead of him, he turned to look on either side. They were not there. He looked behind. There was no sign of them. So, as he gained courage to ask and request his parents to have him around in the roundabout, when he turned back, he could see no sign of his parents. Panic stricken, he ran to one side first, then to the other, hither and thither, in all directions. From one place to another, he started running around looking for his parents, knowing not where to go. Mother, father, he wailed. He started crying. His yellow turban came untied, and his clothes became muddy as he was crawling around, crying and roaming around and running around. He was so very panic stricken that he did not know what was happening, and he wailed for a long period of time, wherein his clothes had become dirty. And he stood there for a while crying. He saw other parents with the children moving around and enjoying the fair. And he also desired to see if anybody could be seen, that is either his mother or father. He tried to look intently among the patches of bright yellow clothes, but there was no sign of his father and mother among these people. There were many people around, so he tried to see if he could see his father or mother, but there was no sign of them, and so he started crying once again. I want my mother, I want my father. There was a stranger, a man in the surging crowd, who heard the young boy cry. Stooping with great difficulty, lifted him up in his arms. He thought to help the child, but the child started crying for his mother and father. How did you get here, child? Whose baby are you? This is what the stranger asked him. But he could not get any response from the child as he wailed for a long period of time. I want my mother, I want my father. This is what he continued saying. But the stranger thought that he could buy him balloons, he could get him the garland, get him to the sweetmeat seller and buy him some sweets. But he was helpless as the child refused to have anything because he thought that what he loved the most was his parents, and as he lost his parents in the fun fair, he could only ask for meeting his parents and not any other thing that he desired to have earlier.